guys, what's up? It's Kaylee. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you guys the books that I read in July. Let me just tell you, July was not the reading month for me whatsoever. My reading month was not the best. It wasn't the worst. I got, 7 books done, which is good, but the quality of the books was just not really there. Let me stop talking and let's get into the books that I read in July. The first book that I read this month, I was so excited for, and I was let down greatly. And that is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Don't come for me if you love this book. I am just coming to learn that classics are not really my cup of tea. Old English just is not it. Which is really weird because I love Shakespeare and I love reading Shakespeare, so you'd think if I could read that and enjoy that, I can enjoy this. But I can't do it. I gave The Great Gatsby 2 stars. Nothing happened. It was so boring. It was like the ending came out of nowhere. I never could understand what was happening half the time. I thought it was gonna be more based on Great Gatsby himself and the parties that he threw and his legacy, but I just feel like it wasn't. I feel like it was so random, it was so all over the place. I feel like half the book wasn't even about Gatsby. If you love Old English and you love classics and you haven't read The Great Gatsby yet, you're most likely going to like The Great Gatsby. But if you're like me and you just cannot get into classics and you think this one's gonna heal that, I don't think it is. This was the first letdown of the month. It's such a short book, but it took me 3 days to get through when it really should have taken me 1. But it was just, I couldn't. It was so boring. I'm sorry if you love this book. I couldn't do it. The next book I read this month was actually a really big surprise for me. This was actually an assigned book for my history class, but I didn't think I was gonna love it, but I did. And that is The Orphan Train by Christina Baker Klein. I actually ended up giving this book 4 stars. It was almost a 5 stars for me, but I just couldn't quite get there, but still, 4 stars for an assigned reading is So basically this book is dual timeline. It follows Vivian, who was a person on the orphan train, and then it follows modern day Molly, who is an orphan herself, and it kind of compares and contrasts how it is to be an orphan in both of those times, but mainly focuses on what Vivian went through when she was on these orphan trains. And I cried in this book a little bit. It takes a lot for a book to really get me, and there was a particular scene in this book where I had to put it down because I couldn't deal with the emotions that I was having. I was disgusted, I was sad, I was confused. Definitely trigger warnings for this book for sexual assault. I just don't feel like I've ever read a book where it was super descriptive, and this book had that. It wasn't beating around the bush. It really dove into what life was like for these orphans back then, and it is just horrific what happened to these children, literally lined up like stock, for people to come and just pick their choice of the litter. It's historical fiction, but these orphan trains existed, and I think that's what makes it really difficult, is even though we're reading about fictional characters, we know that these sort of things actually happen to real people, and it just broke my heart in a million ways. But you also see Molly learning about Vivian's story and, navigating her life now based off of what she knows about what happened to Vivian, and realizing, wow, I'm not alone in this world. And it kills you, but it is such an amazing book and so worth the read. Next book was also for my history class. It wasn't assigned, but I needed some sort of source for my paper, so I read this book. That is The Foundling by Anne Leary. I was so excited for this book, and it wasn't bad. I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't amazing, it wasn't bad, so 3 stars is my okay, it was good region, but nothing to write home about. My initial thought about this book is that it was going to be about people who were sent to these houses to basically be trained or brainwashed into something that they weren't, into what society thought they needed to be. But that's not really a lot of what it was about. This book is told through the perspective of Mary Engel, and she comes to work at one of these places and discovers people there and things there that aren't exactly true, and that she's being lied to. So she's trying to get to the bottom of it. I can't say that there was really a good twist in here because I saw the twist coming, and it was just kind of a very predictable book, from the very beginning, you knew who's going to be the good guy and who's going to be the bad guy. So it was very predictable for me. But again, historical fiction, these types of houses and homes actually existed to take people who were seen as the problem in society, like prostitutes or people who they deemed as, you know, not mentally fit or intellectually fit, even when there was really nothing wrong with them, and we're taking them to these homes to kind of keep them out of society so that they couldn't reproduce, which is just disgusting and ridiculous. I think it's interesting, but it's not something that you need to immediately pick up, you know? Next two books I actually did a reading vlog on, and I will link that video down below. That is It Happened One Summer and Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. I'll talk about the first book first, It Happened One Summer. I gave this book 4 stars. It was just... This book is about Piper and Brendan. And Piper is a super sassy, kind of stuck-up, spoiled rich girl. And Brendan is from this small town in Washington. And he's a fisherman and a hard worker and doesn't take anything for granted. Piper is sent to live in this small town, Westport, to basically learn the value of $1. And it is an enemies to lovers trope, which I love enemies to lovers. I didn't think I was gonna love Piper, even though so many people said that they absolutely love Piper, because I just cannot stand super snooty, stuck-up people who think they deserve all these things. But she does it in such a funny and entertaining way that you can't help but love Piper. And Brendan is her perfect opposite. They equal each other out. And the spice in this book, yup, I absolutely love this. So perfect to read in the summer. I would read this any time of year, but I feel like if you just took this on vacation or to the beach or just laying out in the sun by the pool or anything like that, you would eat this up, and I loved it. Then we have Hook, Line, and Sinker, also by Tessa Bailey, which is a sister novel to It Happened One Summer. This one follows Fox and Hannah. Hannah is the sister of Piper, and Fox is a crewmate and a best friend of Brendan. This one is actually friends to lovers because they meet each other in the first book. Hannah is not like Piper. She is spoiled, but she also has always wanted to work for her money, doesn't really care about the family name, but she just goes to this town with Piper because she's a good sister, but eventually goes back to California. Now she's back in Westport for a job. She's staying with Fox, and Fox is what we would call an F-boy, okay? He is a player, and no one thinks that she should stay with him or that they're a good idea. And this one, y'all, this is a slow burn. This is a slow burn, okay? And this book, I'd say 150 pages in, we get spice. We get the first hookup scene. Y'all, we don't get the hookup scene in here for a long, long time. Okay? A long, long time. I love their love story so much. I think I like their relationship better than Piper and Brendan's, but I like the storyline of the first book better, if that makes sense. I did give this book 4 stars. I couldn't give it 5 stars. I don't know why. I just could not get myself there, but still so worth the read. Y'all, this was another assigned reading for my history class. And I like history. I love historical fiction and things like that, or just actual historical novels if they're done correctly. This one was not. And that is The Forgotten Generation by Lisa L. Ossian. I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly. I apologize. So these are basically about the children and the teens in the time of World War II in America. And it's all real stories. It's a nonfiction. And I was really excited because like the first chapter was actually pretty good. It talked about the bombing of Pearl Harbor and everyone's initial reactions. And then it just got so boring. This book, you guys, I gave 2 stars, and I feel like that's generous. This book could have been so much better, but it just didn't really have a rhyme or reason to it, I feel like. It was very repetitive, and there was things in there that just weren't needed. It did have some good aspects, and that's why I got 2 stars, is because it did pull at my heartstrings, because it really hurt me to learn about what lives were like for these children during World War II. They didn't get a childhood, even though they're in America and they didn't have the war front, you know, on their home turf. Like, it wasn't in America, obviously. It did get me in some areas because it just got me so mad about all these kids, like, forced to basically give up their childhoods in order to do things for the war effort, which I don't know. The last book that I read this month that saved it is Match by Ali Condi. Now listen, I read this series back in middle school, but I'm rereading it because I want to remember the world and all the rules and the regulations and things like that, because she came out with another book that's not in the series but is based in the same world. So I gave this book 4 stars. I don't know if I rated it so high because it was a book from my childhood that I love, and it was just really a big comfort thing for me. But I just also genuinely loved it. I know a lot of people don't love it. They feel like this book is super slow and nothing really happens, but it's a dystopian novel, so you really have to build up the society because it's completely different from what we live in now. I loved it. The book follows Cassia and Kai. Cassia is our main character, and basically what happens in this novel is, in this society they have a match ceremony, which is you go to any time after you turn 17, before you turn 18, and you go there to find out in the society who you have been matched with to marry. She is matched with somebody she knows and super excited about it, but then something happens when she goes home and she sees somebody else on the screen that she's not supposed to see. Now it's kind of a love triangle thing, but you're also seeing her learn things about the society, and you're building up at this society, but you're also breaking it down at the same time because you're learning about it, but then you're also seeing her learn about how the society is not the amazing place that it says that it is, and that this person is teaching her all these new different things. I know it's a really back and forth novel, and I don't know if people would love it now if they didn't read it when they were kids, but for me, mwah, chef's kiss. Okay, you guys, so that is everything that I read in July. I read 7 books, which is good. It's a good number, and I'm really happy that I actually got that much done. But in terms of quality, I would say it was pretty mediocre. But let me know down below what your favorite book of July was. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and I will see you in the next one.